we're going to grow is by us being intentional. Growth is not automatic. We don't grow because we go to work every day. We don't grow because we live another day in our life. If we're going to grow, we have to do this on purpose. It has to be intentional. You can tell you're on the road to success. It's uphill all the way. You don't coast to success. You have to climb to success. And when you think about it, the only thing in life after you and I are born that is truly, truly automatic is that we die. That's automatic. I mean, you don't have to go and take a course on dying. I mean, you don't have to say, oh my gosh, I got to read a book. I got to read a book. I mean, well, I'm going to have to die someday, so I got to figure this out. You don't have to figure anything out. Just hang around long enough and you die. It's automatic. But everything else, you have to be intentional. And especially, here's the way it works. The best things in life, you have to be more intentional. The things that have no value to you, you don't have to be intentional at all. Most people, they don't lead their life, they accept their life. And there's a world of difference between leading your life and being intentional and accepting your life. Most people, 90% of them, are filled with good intentions. They really are. Boy, someday I want to do this, and boy, I'd sure like to go see that, and I'd like to help her, and I'd like to be able to accomplish this. Most people, their whole life is filled with good intentions, but they're not intentional. And if your life is filled with good intentions, you'll never be successful. Because intention, good or bad, can't bring anything to pass. You have to be intentional. You have to take action. You have to take a step. Now, this law of growth, this law of intentionality, came to me when I was in my middle 20s. I was having breakfast with a man named Kurt Campfire, and he looked at me and he said, John, do you have a plan for personal growth? Now, I didn't have a plan. Not only did I not have a plan, I didn't know I was supposed to have a plan. Nobody had ever asked me, do I have a plan for growth? I mean, when he asked me that, it was like, I've never thought of it. Now, but I was a young leader. I was in my middle 20s. And as a young leader, I was embarrassed. I thought, okay, it's obvious I'm supposed to have a plan, and I don't have one. So I thought, I'll fake it. I'll kind of act like I have a plan. So I started talking about how hard I worked and what I was doing and what my dreams were. And I was kind of like a plane circling the airfield, trying to come in for a landing, just going round and round and round. And finally, after about 15 minutes, I didn't have anything more to say because I didn't have a plan. And I just finally shut up and landed the plane. And as soon as I quit talking, he looked at me and he smiled and he said, "You don't have a plan, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't have a plan." And that's when he said to me the words that changed my life. Growth is not automatic. It just won't automatically be yours. I began talking to my friends. I said, I think I've got to find out if my friends have a growth plan. So I went around and you have a growth plan, you have a growth plan, you have a growth plan. And probably for the next few months, 3 or 4 months, I asked, 300-400 of my friends, do you have a growth plan? Not one of them had one. And that was the moment when I realized not only had I missed this intentionality, all my friends were missing it too. All of a sudden, I realized that most of us are going through life without intentionality and without a plan for growth, thinking, assuming, hoping that somehow we'll get better. By the way, hope is not a strategy. Never has been, never will be. So I began to say, okay, I have got to develop a growth plan for myself. And it was very difficult because I didn't have anybody to talk to, I didn't have anybody to teach me, I didn't have anybody to mentor me. It's kind of like I knew I needed to have one, but I didn't know what it should be. And I came across this this kit on success and goal setting by a company out of Waco, Texas called SMI. And basically, I thought if I could get this kit, maybe this will help me get started with my growth. And it cost $799. And this is back when I was in my middle 20s. And that's probably what I made about a month. I probably made about $800 a month. So I couldn't afford it. I mean, it was much more expensive than what I could afford. And so I sat down with my wife, Margaret, and I said, I really want to grow. I think that this would help me, but we don't have the money. And so her and I, we planned for about 6 months. We saved up money and just didn't eat out at restaurants. We just saved money until I got my $799. And then I bought this kit, the set tapes, this workbook, goal setting, how to achieve, just that stuff. And I began to work it. And I began to discover how to grow myself. Now, if you came to my home office in Florida, you would see that kit opposite where I sit at my desk. It was a $799 investment, which was the greatest investment that I've ever made in my entire life. The greatest investment I've ever made in my life was $799. Because it has returned to me millions and millions of dollars. Because the moment I learned how to develop myself, the moment that I learned how to get better, the moment that I learned how to grow, things began to beautifully turn for me, and they will for you also. It was at the same time that I heard Earl Nightingale say, if you spend 1 hour a day, every day, for 5 years on a given subject, the same subject, 1 hour a day, every day for 5 years, on the same subject, in 5 years, you'll become an expert on that subject. And I said, okay, I'm going to try this. And of course, leadership was where I wanted to develop myself. I wanted to grow as a leader. So I bought leadership books. I went to talk to leadership people. I asked leadership questions. I studied leadership. And every day, and now, leadership, for 5 years. And I discovered at the end of the 5 years that I understood leadership better than almost everybody around me. And I was only 30 years of age. It was at that time I said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book on leadership. Now, you have to also understand that after 5 years, I didn't really ever feel like I was an expert. Because here's what you're going to discover. If you start growing and developing yourself, what you're going to discover is the more you know that you don't know. So you never get there. You never get there. By the way, that's why I am so passionate and committed to helping you and helping everybody I possibly can to become growth-oriented, not goal-oriented. Now, I'm not anti-goals, but I'm here to tell you, if you're goal-oriented, you'll do what I see people do all the time. And I do major mentorship with large companies and highly successful people, and I've watched highly successful people reach goals and then fall down. In fact, I can still remember a couple of years ago, I was doing a round table for several businessmen who literally paid $15,000 to be with me for 5 hours. And we were sitting around the table, and one of them out in Dallas, Texas, they said, John, you know, I've got all this money, I've got all these, I've just helped all these people, and I've got all this property, and he said, I've reached all my goals, and I'm empty. Well, you'll get empty if you're goal-oriented. Because you reach a goal and you say, okay, I reached my goal. You see, if you're growth-oriented, you'll never run out of a challenge. Because no one has ever come to me and said, you know what, I've learned everything I need to know in this world. You see, if you're growth-oriented, it is continuous. And by the way, if you're growth-oriented, you'll hit your goals on your way to continued growth. But you don't get excited over goals, you get excited because you're growing every day. My father understood the value of intentional living and the value of being intentional in growth. My father is still alive. He's 93. He still works. He's an amazing person. I wish he were here. If he were here, I'd give him the microphone and he would own you in about 3 minutes. He just loves people, loves life, and high energy, and he's an amazing person. And I'm the middle child. I have an older brother, I have a younger sister. And when we reached the 7th grade, my dad would look at us, and he would, at that moment, begin to pay us an allowance to read books. Now, in the States, I don't know if they do this. Do you pay your kids allowance for do chores or whatever, huh? Some of you do, some of you don't. Okay. In the States, it's kind of quite common to pay your kids an allowance to kind of do chores around the house. And so all my friends got paid to do chores, and I didn't get paid to do chores. In fact, I went to my dad and said, all my friends get paid to do chores, Dad. I think that's a good idea, don't you? And he said, no, it's a terrible idea. And he said, look at me, he said, son, let me try something to you. You do chores because you're part of the family. And I don't pay you to be part of the family. We all do things for each other. We don't pay each other for being part of the family. In fact, he said, let me explain it to you this way. By the time you were born, you already owed your mother for 9 months of room and board. So we're not paying you to do, no, you do chores. You do. And by the way, he said, if I paid you to do chores, you would think that's what I value. I mean, I'm not going to pay you to take out the garbage. I don't want you to grow up to be a garbage man. He said, I value growth and good books. And I'll pay you to read books. And he picked them out. He paid us. We had to read every day for 30 minutes. And my older brother who is very, very highly, unbelievably off the charts successful financially. If he were here. Or my sister who was over a hospital by the age of 27. If she were here. That they would tell you that the greatest thing that ever happened to us is having parents that were intentional in growing us. By the time I graduated from high school, now I had classmates smarter than me, but I was so far ahead of everybody. Because I was reading books about success and the things that I needed to do in life to be successful. And by the way, it not only changed my life and my brother and my sister's life. When my children, when they got 7th grade, paid them to read books. My grandchildren, paid them to read books. You better believe it. My granddaughter, Madeline, she has a papa list. And her papa list is, as she reads books and she pulls great quotes and thoughts out of the books, she puts it under there, and her and Papa, that's what they call me Papa, okay? Her and Papa discuss what she's learning from her books and those great thoughts and those great ideas that she's tucking away. She's got more great thoughts as a 14-year-old than most people do as a 41-year-old. And she's just building this list. It's all intentional. One of the books that I read in the 7th grade, 8th grade, one of the books I read was a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. It's a very small book. It's 78 pages, but it's a powerful book on how to think correctly. Because you know, I hope you know, the greatest difference between highly successful people and unsuccessful people, the greatest difference between successful and unsuccessful people is how they think. Successful people think differently than unsuccessful people. I didn't say they were smarter. They think differently. I studied the habits of successful people's thinking for 10 years. And I discovered that there are 11 thinking patterns that highly successful people engage in that unsuccessful people don't. In fact, there's a book that you want to get. It's sold over 1 million copies. So it's helping a lot of people called How Successful People Think. And in that book, I give you the 11 thinking patterns of successful people. Now, my father understood that he needed to be intentional. And when I read the book by James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, there was a statement he had in his book that has stayed with me from the 7th grade on. Here's what James Allen said. This is powerful, folks. He said, people are anxious to improve their circumstances, but they're not anxious to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. People are anxious to improve their circumstances. In other words, when they have problems, they say, oh man, I got to get my problem fixed. I mean, how can I get this thing fixed? They're very anxious to improve their circumstances, but they're not anxious to improve themselves. And what James Allen is basically saying is, until you improve yourself, you'll not have much control over your circumstances. And I am passionate about people becoming intentional. In fact, if you and I were sitting over here at the corner and you said, John, what would you say to me that would just help me to go to a whole new level very quickly, very rapidly, but assuredly get to the next level? I would say to you, become a little bit more intentional in your life. I'm not asking for 100% 24/7 intentionality, but I'm just saying this. If you would find an area that you're good at, a strength, or something that you're passionate at, that you love, and you became intentional and said, okay, every day I'm going to grow. Every day I'm going to develop myself. It would be absolutely amazing how quickly you would grow and how quickly you would be successful. I share that with you because I've become convinced that to teach a person to live intentionally is perhaps the greatest gift that you can give them. Because people assume things of life will come to them. And they don't understand that if they accept their life, they'll live a very passive life and get the leftovers of life. Versus if they're intentional and they lead their life, they can get the best they have for them. Let me explain it this way. When I was in my 30s, doing pretty well, I had an assistant, a secretary, who for Christmas gave me a book. And I love to read. And the outside, the cover was beautiful. And the outside, the title of the book was The Greatest Story Ever Told. And I got so excited, I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a great book. And I looked at it, and so I opened it. I thought, oh, I'm just going to open it and just see what it's got for me. And I opened it up, and much to my surprise, all the pages were blank. There were no words written, except Eileen Beavers, my assistant, at the top of the first page wrote these words: John, your life is before you. Fill these pages with kind acts, good thoughts, matters of your heart. Write a great story with your life. When I saw that, she said, John, your whole life is a blank canvas. Write a great story of your life. Fill it with good thoughts, matters of your heart. That was the day I realized that I could take control of my life. Listen to me. You are either writing your story or you're reading your story. If you're writing it, you're intentional. You're taking those pages and you're taking those bits and you're saying, this is what I want my life to be about. This is what I want to do with my life. This is my purpose in life. This is what I'm passionate about. You're either writing your story and being intentional, or you're reading your story. In other words, someone else is writing it. Someone else is writing your story. And I say to you that you should write your story. You should write your story because you were created for greatness. You were created to do something beautiful with your life. And if you're intentional, you'll write your story. But if you're a person with just good intentions, somebody else will write it for you. And by the way, when they write it for you, they don't have your best interest in heart. They have their interest in heart. The only person that can truly write your story the way that the Creator planned it is you. And you have to be intentional. I was talking about personal growth at a conference once, and I had a guy come up to me and he asked me, he said, John, he said, what is your personal growth plan? Well, I looked at him and I said, well, I've got a few minutes, so I'll tell you. So I basically gave you the essence of my personal growth plan. When I finished, he looked at me, and he surprised me. He looked at me and said, I don't like your plan. So I said, okay, that's all right. I said, do you mind me asking, what's your plan? Well, he said, I don't have one. I said, I like mine better. What's your plan? If I walked off stage and sat down with you right now and I asked you, what are you planning for personal growth in your life? What would you say? Well, some of you would be like me, because I know what I said. I didn't know. I just kind of took the plane and went around and around on the airfield and finally landed it. You see, it's okay not to have a plan, because up to this point, you haven't realized the importance of it. But I'm here to share with you, starting today, you need to become intentional with your life. I've written 82 books, sold 26 million copies. I'm the #1 nonfiction author in the world. The most important book I've ever written is coming out in October. I'm writing a book on intentional living. I'm writing a book, and I'm basically saying, okay, I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to tell you the story of my life. I'm going to basically say, this is how I laid my life out. Now, I don't want you to lay your life out like myself, obviously, not at all, because every one of us are unique, and every one of us has different gifts, and that's what makes the entire body beautiful. But the whole point of it is, you will never, here's the point, I want you to write this down, okay? So look at your neighbor and say, you got to get this. Tell them you got to get this, okay? Okay, are you ready? You got to get this, okay? Here we are. You're ready. Here we go. You will never reach your potential unless you are intentional. You will never reach your potential unless you're intentional. Intentionality allows you and allows me to reach our potential. Giftedness without intentionality, you won't reach your potential. Opportunity without intentionality, you won't reach your potential. People that literally maximize their life, maximize it because they do it on purpose. Good, you got that, didn't you? Huh? I can tell you got it. I'm so happy. I'm just sitting up here drinking my water. I'm happy. I'm happy because you got it. I can tell you got it. I mean, it's on your face. You got somebody take the notes, but it's on your face. You got it. You're never going to reach your potential unless you're intentional. You just won't. If I'm going to reach my potential, I have got to be intentional. I'm not going to coast to it. You've heard people that were successful being interviewed. You've never heard a person that was interviewed that was highly successful. They said, "How did you become successful?" And the person says, "I have no idea. My gosh, in fact, here I am on top of the mountain, and I just woke up, and here I am on top of the mountain. I have no idea. I'm just going here. Look at this." Trust me. If you're going to reach your potential, you have to be intentional. Now, before I give you law number 2, I'm about to give you the second law. The law of intentionality is that growth just doesn't happen. You got to grow on purpose. But before I give you law number 2, I just want to tell you, I'm really, really pleased because I can tell you're getting it. Okay? I mean, I'm watching you, and I can tell you're getting it, and that makes me really, really happy. Because I'm a teacher. I want to help you. I'm a motivational teacher. I'm not a motivational speaker. A motivational speaker makes you feel good, but the next day you're not sure why. you just go around, "Woo, I feel good, feel good, have no fun, feel good." A motivational teacher, you love it, you enjoy the learning, but the next day you know why. You see, when I'm done, you'll have a game plan. You'll have a game plan for your life. Something that will help you to reach your potential. But I can tell you're getting it. Now, before I go to law number 2, I have one concern, okay? Just one. See, I can tell you're getting it. You're good. But I'm a little concerned about the person on your left.
Kaya mo? Ako yun.
I can tell you are too. I can. Some of you are looking at it going, yeah, I'm concerned. I'm really concerned. See, I know you're getting it, but I'm not sure the person on your left is getting it. I don't. Just between you and me, I'm not sure they are as sharp as you are. You know, I mean, you're getting it, but the one on your left. So here, before I get to law number 2, just look at it and say, it's okay, I'll help you. I'll help you. I'll help you.
It's okay, I'll help you. Away to away.
Law number 2 is the law of awareness. The law of awareness says you must know yourself to grow yourself. If you're really going to grow personally, you have to be very aware of yourself.
Amen.
And this awareness has to be in 2 areas. You have to be very aware of what you are passionate about. So, what am I passionate about? What is it that just absolutely thrills me, excites me? What am I passionate about? You have to be very aware, because the law of awareness is you got to know yourself first. So what is your passion in life? Hey, what do you love to do? Now passion is an incredible thing. Passion is the great energizer. When people have passion, they have energy. I'm so excited to come for 7 Minds. They've been great to invite me here to the Philippines. I'm here because of them. And when I met Albert, when I met him, my dear precious friend, I wasn't with him for 2 minutes until I knew that this man was filled with passion. And he was excited about life and leadership, and I mean, it was kind of contagious. If you have passion, you have energy. And by the way, if you don't have passion, you don't have energy. It's passion that keeps you alive. It's passion that energizes you. I'm 68. People all the time say, John, when are you going to retire? And I tell them I'm not. I'm not going to retire. I don't want to retire. And then they look, they say, well, you're old enough to retire. Well, of course I'm old enough to retire. Well, then they say, well, when are you going to retire? I said, I'm not. I don't want to retire. Well, you have enough money to retire. Yeah, I've got enough money to retire. Trust me. Sold 26 million books. Do the math. I'm okay. It'll be all right. It's not a money thing. So people say, well, then why are you doing this? It's because this is what I want to do. Can I tell you something? You're not working unless you'd rather be doing something else. And this is what I want to do. You say, John, what would you like to do today? I'd like to be in the Philippines. I'd like to be in Manila, and I'd like to talk to 1,000 beautiful, wonderful people who would like to make their life more successful. This is what I'd rather be doing this than anything else. I woke up this morning and I said, wow, this is a huge day for me. I get to talk to the military this morning, and then I get to talk to 25 kind of major leaders in the Philippines at lunch, and then I get to talk to you this evening. This is a good day. I love it. And I desire to retire. Why would I quit doing what I love? See, when people say, well, John, what should I do? First thing I say is, what do you want to do? What would you love to do? You see, there are some people, bless their hearts, they hate their job. And they look at me and say, I really don't like my job. What do you think I ought to do? And I would say, quit. Good Lord. You don't like it? Quit. Do us all a favor. Quit. We've been waiting for you. Quit. I finally got an answer when I'm going to retire, because Here's what I found out about average people. Average people want you to retire. Average people want you to be average. Average people get nervous if you're above average. So look, average people just want average. So I finally got the answer on when I'm going to retire. When I die, I'm retired. Yeah, I'm serious. When I die, I'm not going to write another book. I'm not going to do it. When I'm dead, and when I die, I'm not coming back here to speak. I'm just not going to come back here. When I am dead, I'm going to be dead. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to get them too confused, because most people, they get death and life confused. I know a whole bunch of people, they're already dead. They just haven't made it to tissue yet. So you want to grow. Now watch this. The law of awareness says you got to know yourself to grow yourself. So, if I'm going to grow, I have to be aware. And I have to be aware of two things. I have to be aware of what I'm passionate about, because I want to grow in my area of passion. By the way, let me explain something. If you grow in the area of your passion, you will always be excited about growth, because you're doing something that you love. Okay? But there's another area. And the other area is even more important than your passion. You see, passion is about 80–85%, it'll get you there. But I just want to stop here long enough, call a time out and say that it's possible to be passionate about something that you're not good at. And if you're passionate about something that you're not really good at, don't make it a career. Make it a hobby. Okay? I mean, I don't know if they have American Idol over here, but in the States it's kind of a big show. Did you ever see American Idol? Okay, well, I'm not a big American Idol fan, but I do love watching the tryouts. The tryouts, I watch them, because they give these microphones to these kids who have passion. And they grab that microphone, and they are so passionate, and they just belt out a song, and they're terrible. And I watch it because I just say, oh my God, they're so bad. But oh, they're passionate. I mean, they're just belting out awfulness. And the judges are looking at each other, and everybody's watching TV, hitting the mute button, you know. Now, let me say something. I always wonder why people who can't sing. This one passes me. Do you know what I'm saying? This one kind of passes me. I mean, and when somebody's trying out for American Idol, they're just belting out and they can't sing. Do you know the question I ask? I mean, every time I see somebody that's doing something like it, the first question I ask is, where are their friends? Don't you think someone would sit down across the table with them and say, hi, my name is John, I'm your friend. You can't sing. Don't you think somebody would just help them out? So, when I talk about being aware of yourself, I want you to understand that passion is important. To be aware of what you're passionate, what do you love? But hang on. If you really want to grow and be successful in your life, you got to ask yourself, what are my strengths? What do I do well? What are my gifts? What are my abilities? What is it that when I do it, I'm already above average? Because that's where you want to grow. You want to get specific on your strengths. Now, I don't have a lot of strengths. I have three strengths. I'm a good leader. I'm a good communicator, and I'm very creative. I'm a writer, okay? So those are my three strengths. So what that means is, what do I work on? I work on my leadership, my creativity, you with me, and my communication, because that's what I do well. Now, I'm going to help you, okay? My name's John. I'm your friend. I'm going to help you, okay? In fact, look at your neighbor and say, John's going to help you. Go ahead and tell him. John's going to help you.
John's going to help you.
And that's good. John's going to help you. Look right back at him and say, it's obvious I can't, hope he can. You know, hope he can. Okay, John's going to help you. Here we go. Here's the problem most people have in this area of growth. Instead of working on their strengths, they work on their weaknesses. And you don't want to work on your weaknesses. Trust me on this. I know. That's against everything. I mean, that's against what our parents taught us. You know, that's what school. Remember when you were in school, and if you got an A in math and a C in language, what would they tell you? Work on your language. And I'm telling you, don't work on your language. Thank God you got a C. Probably deserved a D. Teacher liked you, bumped you up a grade.
Can do math.
No, don't work on your weaknesses. Listen carefully. Work on your strengths. Watch this. You can only increase in growth in the area of ability and strengths about 2 numbers. So if I'm below average, I'm a 3. Are you with me? If I work on my weaknesses, that's very weak. I'm a 3 out of 10. Okay, so I got to get that 3 up. So what happens? I really work hard, and so I get that 3 up to a 4, maybe to a 5. Okay, that's fine. I'm only average, and people don't pay for average. No one has ever become successful being average. It's never happened in history, man. It's not going to happen in the Philippines. So if you work on your weaknesses, you still will be average. And you don't want to be average. But let's say you start working on a strength and you're a 6 in an area. You're already a little bit above average. So you work on that, you can become a 7, you can become an 8. Now you're getting in that top 20%. And that top 20% gets about 80% of everything in life. So you want to work on your strengths. When people come to me and they ask me about priority, and this is a whole different 2-hour lecture, but when they come to me and they ask me about how to prioritize their life, I say you've got to ask yourself 3 questions. What's required of me? What gives me my greatest return? And what brings me my greatest reward? The 3 R's. Requirement, return, reward. And I share with them that the requirement side is something we have to do, so we just settle and say, this is what I do. But what they want to do is they want to get on the return side and on the reward side. And the more things they do to give them the reward, that's your passion. And the more things they do to give them the return, that's your strengths. Are you with me? The greater and more successful they'll be. So very simply, what I'm teaching you here today is very simple. You want to work on your strengths. So the law of awareness, you got to know yourself to grow yourself. And so what do? What am I passionate about? What are my strengths? Because I'm going to grow in my areas of passion. I'm going to grow in my areas of strength. You can't grow in every area. So the books I read, they're leadership books, they're communication books, they're books on imagination and creativity and that entire process. Why? Because these are the areas where I'm already good and I'm going to get better. I want to be exceptional. Okay, you're doing really, really good. In fact, I'm kind of excited. I even think the person on your left is improving. Yeah, I do. I think just kind of encourage you right now. Just say, you're doing okay. Go ahead, you're doing okay. Now, let me give you, I have time to give you 2 more laws, okay? So I will have given you 4 tonight out of 15. That's not bad. That's not bad. And you say, well, what am I to do? Well, it's very simple. You go buy my book. Hello. This is an IQ test. Hello. Of course, there are 15 laws. I'm going to give you 4. You're 11 away. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to figure out which 2 laws I want to give you because I know, okay, I know, okay. Here's one. Okay, here we go. Law number 3. The third law is the law of consistency. And the law of consistency says motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. The law of consistency says that everybody gets motivated and gets excited and they start. But starting doesn't make you successful. Let me explain it this way. Everybody starts. Everybody starts. But few are successful. The problem is, when you start, you've got to stay the course. And consistency says, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out, I stay the course. Now, of the 15 laws of personal growth, this one is the most important to me personally, okay? And the reason that it's the most important to me is if you said, John, of the 15 laws of growth, which one has helped you to reach whatever success you've had in life the most, I would say this law right here. The law of consistency. Now, it's kind of surprising that it's a big law, isn't it? Because when we think of consistency, I mean, let's face it, folks, consistency is not a sexy word. I mean, if somebody says, let me tell you what I admire about you, and you go, oh, this will be interesting. Well, go ahead. What do you really appreciate and admire about me? And they say, well, the thing I most admire about you is you're so, wow, you're so consistent. It's a little disappointing. You wanted to say you were brilliant. You wanted to say that you were charismatic. You wanted to say that you were a genius. You got a whole list of things you wanted to say, and consistency wasn't on it. But I'm here to talk to you right now. Listen to me, my friend. Your ability to find your strength and then stay in that sweet spot and not get distracted, but just keep doing the thing that you do well. And as you do it consistently, you just keep layering your success. I know this for a fact. I said the law of consistency is the most important law for me. It is. I mean, let's look at leadership. It's been a big year for me. Named the #1 leadership guru in the world, named the #1 leadership trainer, teacher in America by Inc. magazine. Can I tell you something? I've been doing leadership since 1976. 40 years. 40 years. I've just been doing the same thing over and over. Now, getting better. You see, in 1991, when I wrote my first leadership book, I thought, okay, I'll write one leadership book, and that'll be my contribution to the world of leadership. And I wrote one book, and I thought, oh my gosh, I wrote it was Developing Leaders Within You. And I thought, oh my, I can need to write a book on developing leaders around you. And I wrote a second book, and then I thought, there's some more leadership, because I'm still learning, and I'm still growing. And I keep writing, and I keep writing. And so now, Random House, the biggest publisher in New York City, said that I have written more leadership material than any man in the world. Now hang on, what's this? There's nothing genius about that. There's nothing brilliant about that. I know who I am. My name is John. I'm kind of a southern guy. So how do you become the person who's written more leadership material than any person's ever written in the world? It's very simple. Consistency. I do it every day. I've been teaching leadership for 4 years. Shoot, I ought to be the leadership guru. I mean, there's something beautiful about keep doing the same thing, day in, day out, if it's your strength. And it begins to compound. It begins to compound. And you don't even notice it. It's just all of a sudden you say, oh my goodness, look at the return I'm getting in life. You're getting the return in life because you've understood the value of consistency. Leadership, 1976. I've been writing books since 1979. I've provided video resources and had companies that literally empower and train other companies, and now we're training other countries. I've been doing that since 1982. In other words, I just keep doing what I do well. For example, people say, John, when you speak, and you sit on a chair, you drink your water, you got your cough drug, you just kind of lay back, you're just so relaxed. How did you get there? How did you do that? It's very simple. I've done this 12,000 times. Let me put it this way. If after 12,000 times I'm not relaxed, I'm in trouble. Hello! I better get a new gig. Okay. Let's have some fun. I'm always amazed at people who say to me, okay, I'm going to try something. I've never done this before, and I'm going to try something, and I'm really working hard because I really want to do a good job my first time. And whenever they tell me they want to do a good job their first time, I always smile and I say, my name's John, I'm your friend. And I just want to tell you, you won't do a good job the first time. What do you mean? What do you mean I won't do a good job the first time? What I mean is you won't do a good job the first time. Why is that? Because it's the first time. Okay, let me help you. Nobody's good the first time. You just don't. So don't get nervous. There's nothing to get nervous over. You're going to be bad. Come on, think of it. Come on, hang with me, folks. I mean, when you started talking, were you good the first time? I mean, I don't know, 7 or 8 months old, and one day you go, wow! Everybody. I think he said something. Wow! He said something. He's talking. He is talking. Wow! That's a word. That's a word. What is it? Anybody know? The only people that know what the baby just said are the grandparents. Grandparents, parents have no clue. Parents have no clue. They're just good. Just have babies and hope. Okay. But when you started talking, you weren't good the first time. Walking, were you good the first time? I mean, did you get up one day and say, "Hey, let's walk a mile or two"? No. You took a step, you fell down, took a step, fell down, took a step, fell down, you fell down all day, you fell down the next day, but you just kept working at it. You weren't good the first time you walked, you weren't good the time you talked. You see, we're not good the first time. We're not even supposed to be good the first time. I don't even know whoever got the idea you're supposed to be good the first time because you're not good the first time. So take the pressure off. So why do you do it the first time? Very simple. So you do it the second time. So you can do it the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. I was speaking for 10 years before I got really good. Yeah. 10 years. And I know, now you say, my gosh, I just walk around the stage, and it just kind of rolls out, it's kind of amazing. There was nothing amazing. If you would have seen me when I spoke the first time, you would all be greatly encouraged. You would say, I have a future as a speaker. If you would have seen the first book I wrote, it's still in print, by the way. Wrote it in 1979 called Think on These Things. Trust me, there's nothing to think about. No. It's not any good. It's still in print. The most amazing thing about it, it's still in print. I keep thinking, how is it still in print? In fact, I had a lady the other day bring it to me, and she said, "This is your first book." I said, "I know. I was there." She said, "I love your first. I love this book." I said, "You do?" I said, "What do you love about it?" Oh, she said, "The short chapters." Love the short chapters. She said, "You got 100 pages, you got 33 chapters. You average 3 pages a chapter. Love the short chapters." She said, "Where did you think of that?" I said, "Lady, it was my first book. That's all the gas I had." Hello. In fact, many of those chapters are 2 pages too long. I didn't have it, and it took me a year to write the book. That's 1 page every 3 days. Hello. I'm here to tell you, the law of consistency says, starting means nothing. Staying means everything. The law of consistency says there is no such thing as an overnight success. And that people that are an overnight success worked all their life to be an overnight success. The law of consistency says that it is impossible for you, it is impossible for me to be highly successful out of the box. But we got to get out of the box. And we got to get running. And we got to get doing it. And we want to keep getting better. But the law of consistency says greatness happens in small, incremental steps. There's no such thing as a secret to success, a quick fix to success. There's like, oh my gosh, I mean, what's the one thing you did to be successful? Drives me nuts when you guys do this way. In fact, when I wrote the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, I write the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. I'm lecturing around the world on the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And this guy comes up to me after I've lectured all day on the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And he says, okay, you can. He said, I got it. 21 laws. So he said, I got that. Now he says, talk to me. What's the one thing I need to know about being a great leader? I said, dear God, hasn't he been listening to The book is called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. What's the one thing? One thing. What's the one thing? I need one thing I need to know to be a great leader. What's the one thing? So I thought, dear God, I got to match his passion. I looked down and I said, the one thing you need to know about being a great leader is that there's more than one thing you need to know about being a great leader. There's 21 things you need to know about being a great leader. Quit trying to take shortcuts, folks. The longest distance to success is a shortcut. Don't take it. Don't take it. The law of consistency says, find your strength. Be very aware. This is my passion. This is my strength. And just stay there and let time in, time out, let that consistency. It pays off. It's slow on the front end. It is huge on the dividends on the back end. People ask me all the time. They'll look here and say, okay, you've written 82 books. Would you mind telling me the secret of writing 82 books? How did you write 82 books? It's very simple, folks. I write all my books one word at a time. I don't use a computer. Legal pad, 4-color pen. Okay. I'm going to let you in on some amazing teaching now. This is amazing. What I'm going to give you now is so cool. I don't want you to miss it. Look at the person on your left and say, please catch this. Please. I know you not got them all. Could you get this one? If I can teach you one thing to help you be successful, and I had 10 minutes to do it, I would teach you what I'm going to teach you now. Okay? So this is good stuff. Are you ready? No, you're not. That was so chewy. Are you ready?
Yes.
Well, that's bad. I even saw the person on your left start to talk. What I want to teach you right now is the rule of 5. And the rule of 5 will change your life. Let me illustrate the rule of 5 and let me apply it to your life. If I had a tree in my backyard that I wanted to cut down, okay? Got a tree, want to cut it down, and I had an axe to cut it down with. Are you with me? If I go out and I pick up the axe and I go to that tree and I swing 5 times, with the axe there. Go back inside next day, go back in the backyard, pick up that axe, go to the same tree, 5 times with the axe down. Come out the next day, pick up that axe, go to that very same tree, 5 times with the axe down. Next day, go back into the yard, pick up the axe, go to the same tree, 5 with the axe down. Next day, go out in my backyard, pick up the axe, go to the same tree, with the axe down. Next day, go out in my backyard, pick up the axe, go to the same tree, if I pick up that axe and go to that same tree every day and swing 5 times at that tree with that axe, what is eventually going to happen to that tree? Eventually that tree will fall. That's a fact. We don't need to debate it. We don't need to discuss it. The tree will fall. And isn't it interesting? How many times did I swing every day at the tree? 5 times. Not 15, not 50, not 500. Just every day. Every day. Same tree. Same axe. 5 times. Every day, 5 times. If I swing every day at that tree with that axe 5 times, eventually that tree's going to fall. Now, if it's a big tree, I don't know, it may take 2 or 3 years, but it will fall. You with me? If it's a smaller tree, I don't know, 2 or 3 months it'll fall. But the tree will fall. Why will the tree fall? The tree will fall because I took an axe and 5 times every day I went to that tree and I swung that axe and I hit that tree. I didn't swing that axe all day. I didn't spend 10 hours out there every day. Just every day, 5 times. That's called the rule of 5. The rule of 5 is an amazing rule. It basically says you have to be intentional. You've heard that already today, haven't you? What's intentionality? I have a tree I want to knock down. The rule of 5 says you've got to be practical. You've got to find a resource. You've got to find a tool that will cut the wood in that tree. So I get an axe, 5 times with an axe. By the way, a baseball bat won't work. I can go with a baseball bat and I can take that bat and I hit that tree 5 times. That tree's never, I can hit it 50 times. I can hit it 5,000 times. I can hit it 5 million times. That tree won't fall because I have the wrong resource. I got the wrong tool. You've got to have intentionality. What do I want to accomplish? You've got to have the right practicality, resources. How do I accomplish that? And then you swing 5 times. By the way, you got to have focus. You got to have focus. You go to the same tree every day. You don't take the axe and the next day say, well, I think I'll try another tree. And you swing 5 times over here, the next day 5 times another tree, and the next day 5 times over the tree, and the next day 5 times. Can I tell you, you're never going to knock any trees down. You're just going to have a bunch of scarred trees. Focus. I have a rule of 5 for writing books. How do you grow? Find your passion. Find your strength. Now watch this. Once you find your strength, now we're on the law of consistency. Every day there are 5 things I do. When people say, how did you write 82 books? Rule of 5. Guess what I do? Every day I read, every day I think, every day I file, every day I ask questions, and every day I write. Every day I read, every day I think, every day I file, every day I ask questions, every day I write. Every day I think, every day I read, every day I file, every day I ask questions, every day I write. Every day I read, think, file, ask questions, write. Every day read, think, file, ask questions, write. Every day read, think, file, ask questions, write. And you say, John, excuse me, help me out just a moment. What do you mean by every day? What I mean by every day is every day. Every day? Every day. What do you do on your birthday? Every birthday I read, think, file, ask questions, write. Well, Christmas? What do you do on Christmas? Guess what I get every Christmas? I read, think, file, ask questions, write. Well, when you're on vacation, what do you do? Guess what I do? Every day on vacation, I read, think, file, ask questions, write. What if you're sick? I read, think, file, ask questions, write. I do it every day. I have been filing every day since I was 17. I'm 68. 51 years. So when Random House says, John, you've written more material on leadership than any man has ever lived, I could look at Random House and say, let me tell you what else I've done. I filed more material on leadership than any man that has ever filed. You cannot give what you do not have. The secret of writing 82 books is consistency. Every day. Hey, not all day. We get excited with all day. So we do about 3 all days and then we wear out. Oh, I didn't say all day. It's just 5 times, not 15, just every day. Now, I didn't say I wrote all day. I just said I wrote every day. Some days, like today's a pretty busy day. I'll probably write 20 minutes, and no, that's fine. And then I'll file 1 or 2 thoughts. But every day I do. Every day. Read, think, file, questions, write. Read, think, file. Now, that's my rule of 5 for writing. That is not your rule of 5. That's my rule of 5 for writing, and you're not an author. So here's what I want to challenge you to do. Here's what I love. Here's what's beautiful. I got to ask you a question. What is your tree? What is it that you want to accomplish? You got to pick it. Don't pick 2 trees. Don't pick 5 trees. What's your tree? Once you pick out what you want to accomplish, then what are the 5 things you're going to do every day to knock that tree down? I will promise you, if you will starting right now, begin to pick your tree and begin to pick your rule of 5. And by the way, this is not easy. It sounds easy. I just gave it to you like it's easy. But let me tell you, it took me 6 years to discover my rule of 5 for writing. 3 of them I discovered within 6 months. The last 2 took a long time. It won't take you 6 years because I taught you the concept now. But it'll probably take you 6 months to find your rule of 5. And let me tell you what the rule of 5 is. The rule of 5 is everyday essentials. In other words, what are the 5 things that I have to do every day to knock that tree? The John Maxwell Company. We do corporate training from Microsoft, Dell, some of the biggest companies in the world, some of the small sort of. We just do a lot of training. And when I sit down with the leaders of organizations and companies, I look at them and say, I'm going to help you take this company and go crazy growing. How am I going to do that? I want you to pick out your rule of 5 for building this business. What are the 5 things I have to do every day to build this business? And get a rule of 5. I have 5 companies. We have a rule of 5 for each one of our companies. It's tangible. Everybody sees it. Every day you ask people, have you done your rule of 5? Have you done your rule of 5? And what happens is, if you think you're good and you can have a high return doing 5 things, the right 5 things every day, think how really good you're going to be when you bring a whole bunch of people together and they all do the 5 right things every day. Now you have compounded success off the chart. The law of consistency is an amazing growth law. And if you'll just buy into it, and if you'll just say, okay, I am going to do this. I am going to do this. Trust me, you're on your way to great success. Now, I give you 3 laws of growth. The law of intentionality. Growth doesn't just happen. You got to be intentional. The growth of awareness. You got to know yourself to grow yourself. How do you know yourself? What's my passion? What are my strengths? These are the areas that I'm going to grow in. The law of consistency, I just talked to you about that. The very fact that now what you want to do is you want to be sure that when you get in your strength area, when you find that tree, you go to that tree every day and you stay right with that tree and you never give up and you just stay, and that's what that consistency, that focus with consistency gives you great return. The 4th law that I want to give you, I've got about 12 more minutes. The 4th law I want to give you is the law of environment. And the law of environment says that growth thrives in conducive surroundings. In other words, you will grow better if you're in an environment of growth, and you'll grow bigger if you're in an environment of growth than you will if you're not in one. So this is a law that basically says you have to create an environment that is conducive for your personal growth, and if you're a leader, you have to create an environment that is conducive for the growth of your people. I can still remember in my 20s, after I began my personal growth plan, I sat down with a mentor of mine. I affectionately call him E.T. And he looked at me and he said, John, let me just say something. If you're really going to grow, he said, you got to create an environment that will be conducive for your growth. And then he said, let me kind of explain to you what I mean. And he said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to now intentionally spend time with great people. I said, I got that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend great time. For 40 years, I've had what I call learning lunches, where every month I make an appointment with somebody that's bigger, better, faster, smarter than me. And I take them to lunch and I buy the lunch. They eat, I have my legal pad, and I ask questions. He said, John, spend time with great people. Because the people you spend time with, that's the size you become. He said, visit great places. Visit great places. I had another mentor of mine, Lon Woodward, who said, I have visited every presidential library in America. When a president is no longer president of the United States, they build a library which is about his life and about his leadership. And I said, I want to do that. And literally, everyone except for George W.'s, and it's been built. But I just haven't had a chance to go see it yet. But I've been to every presidential library. Okay, visit great places. Spend time with great people. E.T. looked at me and said, John, let me read great books. Remember the allowance system that I gave you? By the way, that's what I would be doing with your children right now. I would go home and tomorrow I would implement an allowance system with your children to pay them to read books. My father, whatever he paid for the book is what he paid us to read. Read great books. By the way, I was going to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and I was reading a magazine out there. It was Success Magazine, and there was an article in it about the 25 most important books to read to be successful in life. And I thought, oh, this will be interesting. And I started reading, and we would have the book title, and then have maybe 4 paragraphs describing the book, and then the next book, and there were 25 of them. And when I finished, I thought, well, I've read most of these books, and so I thought, I wonder how many of these books I read by the time I graduated from high school. And I went back and I counted up, and out of the 25 books to be successful, I had, by the time I graduated from high school, because of my father and his intentionality and his allowance to them, I had read 19 of those 25 books. The only reason I hadn't read the other 6, they hadn't been written yet. Folks, let me explain to you something about winning a race. The fastest person doesn't win the race. It's the person who gets started first. If you get started first, you can win any race in the world. I was having dinner with Gail Devers, who's the most decorated track athlete in America's history in the Olympics. She won medals in 3 Olympics and was trying out for her 4th Olympic, and she was literally running time trials against girls that could be her children, her daughter. And we're having this dinner, and I said to her, Gail, at the end of the dinner, I've been thinking about this all evening. I said, I think if you and I race for 100